Welcome to the Discourse Analyzer AI Toolkit, where articles come alive. You're listening to the audio version of our article. For the full text and an interactive experience, check out the link in the description below. Interact with any selection using our AI assistant to enhance your understanding. Let's explore.
Teun A. Van Dijk in Discourse Analysis. Teun A. Van Dijk is a prominent figure in the field of discourse analysis, particularly known for his contributions to critical discourse studies, CDs. His work has been influential in exploring how discourse shapes and is shaped by social power, dominance, and inequality, with a strong emphasis on issues like racism, ideology, and media representation. Van Dijk's approach to discourse analysis combines linguistic analysis with cognitive and social theory, making his work interdisciplinary and impactful across various fields of study. 1. Key concepts in Van Dijk's discourse analysis. Cognitive discourse analysis. One of Van Dijk's significant contributions is his focus on the cognitive processes involved in the production and interpretation of discourse. He argues that to fully understand discourse, it is essential to consider the mental representations and models that individuals use to process information. Mental models. Van Dijk posits that people interpret and produce discourse based on mental models, cognitive structures that represent the world, situations, or events. These models are influenced by personal experiences, social knowledge, and cultural norms. Application. When analyzing a news report, Van Dijk would consider how the journalist's mental model of an event, influenced by their experiences and biases, shapes the language used in the report, and how readers' mental models affect their interpretation of the report. Ideology in discourse. Van Dijk has extensively studied the role of ideology in discourse, particularly how dominant ideologies are reproduced through language. He argues that discourse is a primary means through which ideologies are communicated, maintained, and challenged. Ideological square. Van Dijk introduced the concept of the ideological square to describe how discourse often emphasizes positive aspects of us, in-group, and negative aspects of them, out-group, while downplaying or mitigating negative aspects of us and positive aspects of them. Application. In political discourse, a speech might highlight the positive achievements of the speaker's own party, in-group, while criticizing the failures of the opposing party, out-group. Following the logic of the ideological square, power and dominance. Van Dijk's work He examines how powerful groups use language to control public discourse, thereby shaping public opinion and social practices. Discourse and social power. Van Dijk emphasizes that power is not only exerted through coercion but also through control over discourse. This control can be seen in how elites, such as politicians, journalists, or academics, have the ability to shape what is talked about and how it is discussed. Application. Analyzing media coverage of immigration. Van Dijk might explore how language is used to represent immigrants in ways that reinforce stereotypes, thereby legitimizing restrictive immigration policies and maintaining the dominance of native groups. Context models. Van Dijk stresses the importance of context in discourse analysis. He introduces the concept of context models, which are cognitive representations of the communicative situation that influence how discourse is produced and interpreted. Contextualization. Van Dijk argues that understanding discourse requires understanding the context in which it occurs, including the social, political, and cultural factors that shape both the speaker's intentions and the audience's interpretation. Application. In a courtroom discourse, the context model includes the formal setting, the roles of participants, judge, lawyer, defendant, and the legal norms that guide the interaction. These contextual factors influence how language is used and understood in this setting. Critical discourse studies, CDs. Van Dijk is a key figure in the development of critical discourse studies, an approach that goes beyond merely describing discourse to critically examine how discourse relates to social inequality, power, and ideology. Interdisciplinary approach. Van Dijk's CDs is characterized by its interdisciplinary nature, drawing on linguistics, sociology, psychology, and communication studies to provide a comprehensive analysis of how discourse functions in society. Application. In analyzing racist discourse, Van Dijk would not only describe the language used but also examine how such discourse reflects and reinforces broader social and institutional racism. He might look at how racist ideologies are subtly embedded in everyday language and how these ideologies contribute to the marginalization of certain groups. Point 2. Methodological approach. Van Dijk's approach to discourse analysis typically involves the following steps. Textual analysis. Examining the language, structure, and rhetorical strategies used in the text. This includes analyzing word choice, metaphors, and syntactic structures. Cognitive analysis. Investigating the mental models and cognitive processes that underlie the production and interpretation of discourse. This includes exploring how individuals' beliefs, knowledge, and ideologies influence their understanding of the discourse. Social analysis. Contextualizing the discourse within broader social and cultural frameworks. This involves examining how discourse reflects and influences social power relations, ideologies, and social practices. Critical reflection. Critically assessing how discourse contributes to social inequality, dominance, and resistance. This step involves identifying the ways in which discourse may perpetuate or challenge social injustices. Example. Analyzing a political debate on immigration. Textual analysis. Van Dijk would analyze the specific language used to describe immigrants, such as whether they are referred to as illegal aliens or undocumented workers, and the implications of these choices. Cognitive analysis. He would explore how these terms reflect the mental models of the speakers and how they influence the audience's perceptions. Social analysis. Van Dijk would situate the debate within the broader social context, considering how it reflects and reinforces existing power dynamics and ideologies around nationality, race, and security. Critical reflection. He would assess how the discourse might contribute to the marginalization of immigrant communities or, conversely, how it might challenge dominant narratives and advocate for more inclusive policies. Point 3. Contributions and impact. Teun A. Van Dijk's work has had a profound impact on the field of discourse analysis, particularly in the following areas. Cognitive aspects of discourse. By integrating cognitive science with discourse analysis, Van Dijk has provided a deeper understanding of how individuals process and produce discourse, and how these processes are influenced by social and ideological factors. Focus on ideology and power. Van Dijk's emphasis on the role of ideology and power in discourse has been influential in revealing how language can both reflect and perpetuate social inequalities, making his work especially relevant in the study of racism, sexism, and other forms of discrimination. Interdisciplinary approach. Van Dijk's work is characterized by its interdisciplinary nature, bridging linguistics, psychology, sociology, and communication studies. This has broadened the scope and application of discourse analysis, making it a valuable tool for examining complex social issues. Point 4. Criticisms and challenges. While Van Dijk's approach has been highly influential, it has also faced some criticisms. Complexity. The interdisciplinary nature of Van Dijk's approach, particularly his integration of cognitive and social theory, can make his methodology complex and difficult to apply without a strong background in multiple disciplines. Subjectivity. As with other forms of critical discourse studies, Van Dijk's work has been critiqued for potential subjectivity, as the analysis often involves interpreting underlying ideologies and power relations, which can be influenced by the analyst's perspective. Focus on dominance. Some critics argue that Van Dijk's focus on dominance and inequality may overlook the more positive or constructive aspects of discourse, such as how language can foster collaboration and mutual understanding. Conclusion. Teun A. Van Dijk's contributions to discourse analysis, particularly through his focus on cognitive processes, ideology, and power, have significantly shaped the field. His interdisciplinary approach, which combines linguistic, cognitive, and social analysis, offers a comprehensive framework for understanding how discourse functions within society. Van Dijk's work is particularly influential in critical discourse studies, where his insights into how language reflects and perpetuates social inequalities have been applied to a wide range of social issues, from media representation to institutional racism. Despite some criticisms, Van Dijk's approach remains a cornerstone of discourse analysis, providing valuable tools for critically examining the complex relationships between language, thought, and society. Frequently asked questions. Who is Teun A. Van Dijk? And why is he important in discourse analysis? Teun A. Van Dijk is a leading scholar in discourse analysis, particularly known for his contributions to critical discourse studies, CDs. His work explores how discourse shapes and is shaped by social power, dominance, and inequality, with a focus on issues like racism, ideology, and media representation. His interdisciplinary approach combines linguistic, cognitive, and social theory, making his work highly influential across multiple fields. What is cognitive discourse analysis, and how does Van Dijk apply it? Cognitive discourse analysis is one of Van Dijk's significant contributions, focusing on the cognitive processes involved in producing and interpreting discourse. Van Dijk argues that understanding discourse requires considering the mental models, cognitive structures that represent events or situations that individuals use. These models are shaped by personal experiences, social knowledge, and cultural norms. How does Van Dijk's concept of mental models contribute to discourse analysis? Van Dijk's concept of mental models helps explain how individuals interpret and produce discourse. Mental models are cognitive frameworks that represent how people understand the world. In discourse analysis, these models are crucial for understanding how discourse is influenced by the speaker's experiences and biases and how it is interpreted by the audience. What is the ideological square, and how does it function in discourse? The ideological square is a concept introduced by Van Dijk to describe how discourse often emphasizes positive aspects of the in-group, us, and negative aspects of the out-group, them, while downplaying negative aspects of us and positive aspects of them. This tool is used to analyze how language perpetuates dominant ideologies by reinforcing group divisions. How does Van Dijk approach the relationship between discourse and power? Van Dijk's work examines how discourse is used to exercise power and maintain dominance in society. He highlights that power is not only exerted through overt coercion but also through control over discourse. By shaping what is discussed and how, powerful groups can influence public opinion and reinforce social practices. What role does context play in Van Dijk's discourse analysis? Context is central to Van Dijk's approach. He introduces context models, which are cognitive representations of the communicative situation that influence how discourse is produced and interpreted. Understanding the context, including social, political, and cultural factors, is essential to fully grasp the meaning and impact of discourse. How does Van Dijk's critical discourse studies, CDs, differ from other discourse analysis approaches? Van Dijk's CDs is distinguished by its interdisciplinary nature, drawing from linguistics, sociology, psychology, and communication studies. Unlike descriptive approaches, CDs critically examines how discourse relates to social inequality, power, and ideology, focusing on how language can both reflect and perpetuate social injustices. What is Van Dijk's methodological approach to discourse analysis? Van Dijk's approach involves 4 key steps: textual analysis, examining the language, structure, and rhetorical strategies used in the text; cognitive analysis, investigating the mental models and cognitive processes behind discourse production and interpretation; social analysis, contextualizing the discourse within broader social and cultural frameworks; critical reflection, assessing how discourse contributes to social inequality, dominance, or resistance. What are the major contributions of Van Dijk's work to discourse analysis? Van Dijk's work has made several significant contributions. Cognitive integration. By incorporating cognitive science, he has deepened the understanding of how discourse is processed and produced. Focus on ideology and power. His emphasis on ideology and power has revealed how language can perpetuate social inequalities. Interdisciplinary approach. His blending of multiple disciplines has expanded the scope and application of discourse analysis. What criticisms has Van Dijk's approach faced, and how has it responded to them? Critics of Van Dijk's approach often point to its complexity due to its interdisciplinary nature. making it challenging for those without a background in multiple disciplines. Others argue that the focus on power and dominance may lead to subjective interpretations and overlook the positive aspects of discourse, such as collaboration. Despite these criticisms, Van Dijk's approach remains influential, offering a robust framework for critically analyzing the relationships between language, thought, and society.